Entry date, October 28th. The air in the studio hung heavy with anticipation as I sat behind the microphone, the soft glow of the control panel casting a warm light over the dimly lit room. It was well past midnight, and the city outside lay shrouded in darkness, the streets deserted and silent. I adjusted the headphones over my ears, the leather cushions pressing softly against my skin, as I prepared to start the next segment of my late-night radio show. The studio was bathed in a soft, amber light, the only illumination coming from the dim glow of the control panel and the flickering lights of the city outside. As I opened my mouth to speak, a sudden burst of static filled the air, cutting through the silence like a knife. I frowned, reaching out to adjust the dials on the control panel, but the static only grew louder, more insistent. And then through the crackle of interference I heard it, a voice, faint and distorted, but unmistakably human. It was a distress call, a cry for help from someone in desperate need. My heart began to race as I leaned closer to the microphone, the warmth of the studio suddenly feeling suffocating against my skin. The voice was garbled, barely audible above the static, but there was no mistaking the urgency in its tone. "This is the Phantom Abyss," the voice crackled. "We're sinking. Repeat, we're sinking." I froze in my seat, the blood draining from my face as I listened to the words echoing through the studio. Phantom Abyss had sunk decades ago, lost to the depths of the ocean along with its crew and passengers. There was no way anyone could still be alive, no way the ship could still be sending out distress signals. But as the voice continued to speak, growing clearer with each passing moment, I realized that this was no ordinary broadcast. There was something eerie, something otherworldly about it. As if the message was coming from beyond the grave, I reached out to shut off the broadcast, my fingers trembling as they hovered over the controls. But before I could, the static suddenly cleared and the voice spoke one final time, its words ringing in my ears like a warning from the depths. "Beware the depths," it said before fading away into nothingness. I sat there in stunned silence, the echoes of the message still reverberating through the studio. The night stretched out before me, vast and endless, and I knew that I would never be able to forget what I had heard. For in that fleeting moment, I had come face to face with something beyond the realm of the living, something that lurked in the shadows of the night, waiting to be heard once more. And as the final strains of static faded away, I couldn't shake the feeling that the message was meant for me, a warning from the depths of the unknown. As the voice faded into silence, a chill settled over the studio, wrapping around me like a shroud. I sat there in stunned silence, the weight of the words echoing in my mind like a haunting melody. "Beware the depths," it had said, a cryptic warning that sent shivers down my spine. I glanced around the studio, the once familiar surroundings now feeling alien and unsettling. The soft hum of the equipment seemed to grow louder, more oppressive, drowning out the sounds of the city outside. With trembling hands, I reached out to shut off the broadcast, the metallic click of the switch cutting through the silence like a knife. But as the static faded away, a sense of unease settled over me, a feeling that I couldn't shake no matter how hard I tried. I stood up from my chair, the floor feeling unsteady beneath my feet as I stumbled toward the door. The hallway stretched out before me, long and narrow, the shadows dancing on the walls like specters from another world. I made my way through the darkened corridors, my footsteps echoing off the walls as I searched for some semblance of normalcy. But with each step I took, the feeling of dread grew stronger, a primal instinct warning me of the danger that lurked just beyond the edges of my vision. And then as I rounded a corner I saw it, a flicker of movement in the shadows, a figure standing just beyond the reach of the dim light. My heart skipped a beat as I stared into the darkness, my breath catching in my throat. For a moment there was silence, broken only by the sound of my own ragged breathing. And then, with a sudden burst of movement, the figure stepped forward into the light, its features twisted and contorted into a grotesque mockery of humanity. I stumbled backward, my heart pounding in my chest as I realized the truth. The voice on the broadcast, the warning from the depths, it had all been a prelude to something far more sinister. Something that lurked in the shadows, waiting to claim its next victim. With a primal scream, I turned and fled, the darkness closing in around me like a suffocating embrace. And as I ran, the echoes of the voice followed me, a haunting reminder of the horrors that lurked just beyond the edges of my reality. I raced through the labyrinthine corridors of the studio, my heart hammering in my chest with each frantic step. The once familiar surroundings now felt like a maze of shadows and echoes, each corner hiding a potential threat. The air grew thick with a sense of impending doom, suffocating me with its oppressive weight. As I stumbled blindly forward, my mind raced with questions and fears. What had I stumbled upon? Who, or what, had sent that chilling message from beyond the grave? And most importantly, how could I escape the clutches of whatever malevolent force lurked in the darkness? With every passing moment, the sense of dread grew stronger, a tangible presence that seemed to seep into my very bones. I could feel eyes watching me from the shadows, unseen hands reaching out to drag me into the depths of despair. But still, I pressed on, driven by a primal instinct to survive at any cost. I pushed my body to its limits, ignoring the burning ache in my muscles and the pounding in my head as I raced toward the faint glimmer of light at the end of the corridor. And then, just when I thought I couldn't go on, I burst through the door and into the open air, gasping for breath as the darkness receded behind me. I stumbled out into the street, the cold night air biting at my skin as I collapsed onto the pavement, my body shaking with exhaustion and fear. As I lay there staring up at the star-filled sky, I knew that I had narrowly escaped a fate worse than death. But deep down, I also knew that the darkness that had haunted me in the studio was still out there, waiting for its next opportunity to strike. And as I closed my eyes and drifted into an uneasy sleep, I couldn't shake the feeling that I would never truly be free from its malevolent grasp. For in the end, some nightmares are too real to escape, and some horrors are too dark to be forgotten. Days passed, but the events of that fateful night continued to haunt me like a relentless specter. The memory of the voice, the warning from the depths, lingered in the recesses of my mind, refusing to fade with time. I tried to push the experience away, to convince myself that it had all been a fevered dream brought on by exhaustion and stress. But no matter how hard I tried to rationalize it, I couldn't shake the feeling that something malevolent lurked just beyond the edges of my reality. I became obsessed, scouring newspapers and online forums for any mention of the SS Aurora or the mysterious distress call. But try as I might, I found nothing. No records, no mentions, nothing to confirm that what I had heard was anything more than a figment of my imagination. And yet, despite the lack of evidence, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched, that some unseen force was waiting for the right moment to strike. The shadows seemed darker, the whispers of the night more sinister, as if the very fabric of reality had been tainted by the darkness that had invaded my life. I tried to go about my daily routine as if nothing had changed, but the fear gnawed at me like a hungry beast, consuming me from the inside out. I found myself constantly looking over my shoulder, jumping at the slightest sound, haunted by the feeling that I was being followed. But no matter how hard I tried to escape, the darkness followed me wherever I went, a constant reminder of the horrors that lurked just beyond the edges of my reality. And as the days turned into weeks, and the weeks turned into months, I realized that I would never be truly free from its malevolent grasp. For in the end, some nightmares are too real to escape, and some horrors are too dark to be forgotten. And as I looked out into the endless expanse of the night, I knew that the darkness that had invaded my life would always be waiting, lurking in the shadows, ready to claim its next victim. As the days stretched on, the oppressive weight of the unknown bore down upon me like a suffocating fog, its tendrils of darkness creeping insidiously into every corner of my mind. The memory of the phantom abyss, its name a whispered curse upon my lips, haunted my every waking moment, twisting my thoughts into grotesque shapes of fear and paranoia. I delved deeper into the murky depths of old archives and maritime records, each dusty tome a portal into a world of forgotten secrets and unspeakable horrors. And then, amidst the musty pages and faded ink, I stumbled upon it, a treasure trove of evidence hidden away like a macabre prize. There were old film reels, their images flickering to life in the dim light of the archive room, capturing moments of joy and laughter aboard the ill-fated vessel. But as the scenes unfolded, a sense of unease settled over me, the smiles of the passengers masking a deeper, more sinister truth. And then there were the interviews, the voices of the survivors echoing through the decades like ghostly whispers. Their words were filled with pain and anguish, their accounts painting a harrowing picture of the horrors they had endured. As I pored over the evidence, a chill settled over me, the weight of the truth bearing down upon my shoulders like a burden too heavy to bear. The phantom abyss was more than just a ship. It was a floating tomb, a prison for the souls of the lost and the damned. And yet, despite the overwhelming evidence before me, I couldn't shake the feeling that there was still more to uncover, more secrets lurking just beyond the reach of my understanding. The darkness seemed to grow stronger with each passing moment, its malevolent presence seeping into the very fabric of my being, like a poison spreading through my veins. But even as the shadows closed in around me, I refused to surrender to despair. With a fierce determination burning in my heart, I set out into the night once more, the echoes of the unknown ringing in my ears like a funeral dirge, for I knew that only by confronting the darkness head-on could I hope to emerge from its grasp unscathed.